Today, I'm going to speak to you about the Kubernetes from Canonical and what are we doing with it recently. So let me introduce myself. I'm Youssef Eltoukhy. I'm based in London in the Canonical headquarters. I basically work in the Silicon Alliances division inside Canonical. This is the department where we lead all of the partnership with silicon vendors, making sure that the Ubuntu that you all probably know or use is supported across all of these silicons. That's the core of our team's vision. So let me take you to some introduction first about Canonical and Ubuntu, and then we dive into the Kubernetes. We're not going to talk much about AI. When we talk about long-term support, it's a boring topic. It's about enterprise. It's about big companies developing solutions for years and years. So that will be the topic of today. Canonical, you know us as the publisher of Ubuntu, the world's favorite enterprise Linux. The ethos of Canonical is that we deliver open source, we do it faster, we do it more reliable and cost effective. Canonical is spread across 80 countries today, 85 nationalities, and with our global distributed team, and we have something we call like follow the sun support model. So basically our customers can innovate wherever they are with the assurance that they get the support in real time, basically. Our work cannot be separated from the communities. So today, we work with most of these communities to build projects. We support hundreds of them. And we're also grateful for the community from where supports Ubuntu and the Ubuntu community and developer community in general. So this is part of the work we do in the open source. Canonical is one of these players that we rely on the support of the open source community. Can you please close the door? Excuse me, the door? Can you please close the door? It's a bit loud outside. Thank you, Sato-san. Okay, so a small brief about Ubuntu. It's the most popular distribution. It's been there for 20 years. We've been doing a stable release since then. There's only one Ubuntu. So basically across all of the compute spectrum from cloud to desktop to IoT, it's the same Ubuntu, which create this interoperability of developer use case and story. You develop on a desktop, you deploy in the cloud, you can also deploy on an IoT device. It's one Ubuntu. And we've built a streamlined supply chain over the 2 decades that we've been producing Ubuntu so that we deal with complex software, open source maintenance in a very streamlined way. I added this slide for people who's been using Ubuntu for years. So some of the names from our LTS started in 2006. So in the open source, Canonical comes with the message that you can have a predictable enterprise release, a predictable enterprise service level agreements, so that when we talk about open source, as we heard in the keynotes today, where enterprises are fastly moving towards open source, they can do that with confidence with Canonical. The part we're bringing here today is that it's not just Ubuntu. In Canonical, we address a wide range of customer problems using open source and trusted open source. And it extends from all the way to the operating system up to the application stack. So this is kind of an overview of the different parts of Canonical stack. And today, we are talking about the Kubernetes. So when we talk about long-term support, it's the LTS version. It means one thing in Canonical. It means that you are covered for 10 plus years of security patching and update. So we're bringing that concept to Kubernetes today. The announcement happened a few weeks ago. And it's as simple as you think it is, and it's as expected as needed from the ecosystem. No surprises. It's basically long-term support for Kubernetes. And here I want to stop a bit and share with you why we need LTS for Kubernetes. Why am I here, basically? So we're here because we want to congratulate the open source community. You created a problem and we're trying to solve it. And what I mean by that is a developer developing any code will use eventually a containerized application. Containers has been the standard of the industry for years. And containers need runtime, as simple as that. One of our partners are developing medical imaging machine. They are developing code using like .NET or Java. And basically, they are building that in containers. And by the way, they're also an NVIDIA customer because they need GPUs for this imaging device that they're building. But because of that, the imaging device, this radiotherapy machine, is a cloud-native machine. It's a cloud-native software. And in another language, we have been a victim of the success of the cloud-native. Every company, every customer wants to develop on containers. But there are two perspectives here. There are the Google developers, the big SaaS players who want to have the Kubernetes fixing all of the acting as the abstraction layer across all of the software. So basically updating the Kubernetes to match the need on a very short period of updates. But there's also the telco players. And the telco players, when we talk to them in Canonical, they say, I want this stack and I want it for 15 years and I don't want it to be changed. And these are the customers that we're trying to talk to today and close the gap on this infrastructure. So the Google developer, the SaaS developer, has very much different needs of the underlying infrastructure compared to a telco, a Nordic telco. When we go to a bank and we say that, oh, by the way, you need to update Kubernetes every 3 to 4 months, the response will be like, get real. To update a Kubernetes, to update a software stack, I need to get approval 6 months ahead. I can only do that every 2 years. This is the real world. So what Canonical is bringing in the Kubernetes here, it's a simple story. If you are developing in an enterprise IT, if the telco market requires 10 plus years of support, we're here to deliver that. More on what Canonical Kubernetes are. So we are not reinventing the wheel. So I'm not here to explain to you what Kubernetes is. We're using upstream Kubernetes, maybe packaged differently using Canonical packaging skills like in snaps and different deployment tools. But it's the same as the upstream Kubernetes. We're following the CNCF ones. We've been seeing a lot of security focus, of course, with the rise of AI as well. So enterprises are interested in the security story. They want these Kubernetes that's in the stack for 10 years to be security patched, and that's not available today. So that's why we're coming into this ecosystem and saying, we can promise you a security patched Kubernetes for the lifetime of the LTS. We'll talk more about other security features in the coming slides. Again, it's the same upstream Kubernetes with using standard API. We can also offer managed Kubernetes. Some of our telco customers requires that we manage the Kubernetes for them. So that's also one of the things that we offer today as part of the Kubernetes offering. So let me jump into what does that mean in actions and numbers. So we're trying to create a world where both the SaaS developer, the AI developer who needs the latest and greatest, and also the telco player who needs the stability of the infrastructure, both can live and can innovate using Canonical Kubernetes. So how this works is that we will release our Kubernetes following the upstream general availability. So every release will be followed by a Canonical Kubernetes release. And every 6 upstream release, we will offer an LTS. LTS, long-term supported, now is under what we call Ubuntu Pro. And we've added what we call a legacy support. So Ubuntu Pro is 10 years, and the legacy support is 2. Last week, it became 5. So we're talking about 15 years of support. And as I was saying, we're trying to cater for both worlds. So how that happens. So let's talk about how different users will upgrade their Kubernetes and the infrastructure. Again, if a big SaaS player wants to keep upstream, go follow upstream, and they still want to use Canonical Kubernetes, that's an option. You can keep upgrading. We will offer short-term maintenance for the interim releases of Kubernetes. It's 5 interim releases between the LTSs. Don't get confused about the first one because we launched it in an odd year. So now we have 3 interims, but usually in the upcoming years are 5 interim releases. So from 1.37, so 137 is the next LTS. 142 is the following one, and we have 5 interim releases. So users can upgrade every 3-4 months with a new Kubernetes version. We will support them in that. But also users can jump between LTSs. So today, a company can start on, let's say next year, a company can start on the 136 LTS, and basically giving them the option. You can stay on the 136 for as long as you want, for 15 years, or you can upgrade to the next one, which is 137, or you can upgrade to the next LTS that's coming in about a year. And this is the option that I was just mentioning about untouched release or untouched software stack for years. This is where we started the LTS Kubernetes, and this is where we see the most interest from our telco customers again. They want the same thing, and they want to security patch it, and they want it for long term. So yeah, so this is the Kubernetes LTS in years and numbers. Trying to cater to the both worlds is the main goal of Canonical today. The first one was the upcoming, like the always changing, upgrading releases is already available from upstream. What we're trying to come and add is the long-term supported for the enterprise and telco customers. Okay, moving forward. So Kubernetes is part of the whole Canonical software stack. So this is an overview of all of the different products, and I'm not going to spend many time here in explaining the different components. It's basically just mentioning one thing that's all covered under the same, what we call Ubuntu Pro, which is basically the LTS subscription. We have an LTS release for Ubuntu, which is supported for 5 years. And with Ubuntu Pro, we extend that at a very cost-effective price to the 10+ years. And with the legacy, we can extend it to the 5 years extra. Kubernetes is not different. It's the same part of that subscription today. And as you can see, in a nutshell, the Ubuntu stacks start from all the way down from hardware, metal as a service, and expands all the way up to AI apps and data apps as well, going through the virtualization layer, storage, and I'll tell you more about it very soon with a different storyline as well. So this is from the State of Open Source report that was shared today in the keynote speech. Going back to the idea of one subscription that covers all security, I'm just going to talk about a couple of these items. One of them has been talking about the second one, the middle one at the top, which talks about the sub 12 hours response time. And again, this has been a major telco response, a request from us in Canonical. We need to respond within an hour, within 2 hours. And that's what we call the follow the sun approach. So we have people in every country to respond to these telco. We have telcos in APAC and Nordic, and of course the US. One other thing is, the bottom left one, which is 45% of enterprise consider paid support essential for industry-regulated environment. So this is where Canonical comes again into play, where we offer the standard SLAs. So companies and enterprise want to sign an agreement with us where we are reliably and with a history and a credible support, we can offer this long-term supported through our channels and supply chains that we've been building for 20 years so far. So we're seeing these numbers that makes us more confident in that what we see the ecosystem wants, the ecosystem needs in terms of long-term support. One more thing I will mention is the top right one, which is 40% expect long-term support guarantees. So this is where, again, Canonical put that guarantees on the table. We put it for infrastructure, but we also discuss it and offer it for IoT. Today, we're talking about more an infrastructure product, but the same thing applies to our IoT customers and partners. They want to deploy industrial IoT devices in a factory. They want to make sure that they have that long-term support and the SLA, again, the enterprise grade level of support. Okay, moving forward. Here, I want to mention our approach to open source, We believe that open source is a team sport. And what we mean by that is that partners or customers can choose one of different ways. They can deploy our solutions. Basically, you can tomorrow go online, get the Kubernetes deployed on your stack, subscribe to Ubuntu Pro. If you're a developer, it's free anyway. You get the 10 years for free as a developer. And you can use that as a customer, very cost-effective solution. You can start deploying the stack. And here we have, I will start from the right side, we have great stories working with Nutanix, for example, to integrate Ubuntu Pro in their NKB Pro Kubernetes. We work with Lucid. It's one of the cloud infrastructure companies as well. They require FIPS, what we call the FedRAMP certification. They use that in AWS. Again, we work with NTT Docomo for Ubuntu and Kubernetes. So customer can basically deploy our solutions out of the box. It's supported and maintained. But I want to shed more light on the left-hand side. What we see here is that we also build with our partners. What I mean is these three big names, we're talking about number one AI company, the tier one telco, and VMware. They are not just getting the solutions that we're building out of the box and using it in their stack. They're actually working with our teams to build together. And this is a story that we started with the silicon, and we're extending it now more to the software and virtualization layer. So today, for example, NVIDIA, the biggest AI player, all of the open source components that are not their secret sauce, it's open source, is maintained by Canonical. So basically, we act as a component supply chain. We build with these partners to have a better solution at the end. Even if the solution is marketed under their name, we're happy to support. We're happy to be a player and support their solution. So today, if you search DGX OS, which is NVIDIA's DGX operating system, you will find the first line on Google is it's an Ubuntu-based operating system. And we're happy to be that player. We don't want Ubuntu name to be everywhere. We want to work and build with partner and build their solution. With BT, we are developing the 5G, the cloud-native 5G, using, again, Kubernetes. They are not using our canonical Kubernetes out of the box. Again, we are building with them, delivering the component that they need with their secret sauces that they build and their differentiation, and we offer that to our joint customer in that case. We're VMware. We're delivering slightly different things from like kernel, how they can deploy VMware in different infrastructure hardware architecture. So that's the expand horizontally across different architectures. That's something that we're working closely with VMware. And today, the message I want you to get out of this slide is that if you're a partner, you want to build your solution with different open source components, we're happy to work together implementing these components into your stack. If you're a customer and you just want to get canonical trusted stacks, deploy over it, that's also available today. So this is the differentiation point that I want to draw here for you today with examples from our partners. Yeah, I think I covered this one. Let me move forward. Oh, so yeah, this is the same kind of photo, but more in a vertical integration. And to be honest, this slide is more of like chatting with you how we see, or how maybe it's also my personal opinion, to be honest, how we see the evolution of the story from silicon to containers. In a maybe thought-provoking way, but it's kind of extraordinary to think that in the world now where, as myself in the silicon team, we work closely with silicons to enable their hardware features into our stack. We find ourselves working with the virtualization teams as well. And in a way, we find ourselves delivering the Kubernetes because these stacks are using our host kernel. So you can imagine that the work we do with the hardware is simply as like a cloud host. So we just make sure that the drivers are there. And then, because the host OS is also using our kernel, we can provide Kubernetes. And because we work with the NVIDIA to build their GPU operators, it's integrated into our Kubernetes story. So the beautiful thing about Canonical in that way is that we are the kernel. We deliver the kernel. We also deliver the user space because why not? We have the libraries, we have the versioning of different binaries together. We develop the Kubernetes with our partners, and then we go all the way up to the stack. And to be honest, it's interesting how the story today was the high level of abstraction and containerization on the highest level. Almost all of these different applications, AI application, database application, need to address the silicon almost natively. And the new story here is that used to be in isolation, where like the VM used to live in an island, the kernel used to live in an island, and then the containers was all of the dependency snapped together. That's isolated from the kernel. But today, we see that more and more of the high-level application needs to address the silicon natively. With confidential computing, for example, on the cloud, with the GPU operators that needs to be a part of the Canonical, of the Kubernetes in general. We offer it as part of the Canonical Kubernetes, with the virtualization layers that need to use security feature in the hardware. And in a simple way, what I'm trying to deliver the message here is that we are working in different kind of stacks to make sure that there is a concurrent story of support across all of the vertical integration. We don't have to be the player that delivering every part of the stack. Of course, this photo is about our product, but it doesn't have to look like that. It can be other partners' product, but working with us, it makes sure that the story is coherent. There's no isolation. And that's mostly because of the sophistication of the workload that kind of revealed some fragility in the stack that now we're trying to solve with partners. Again, not trying to say that we are the solution to everything, but saying that working together with partners, we can deliver the one story of reliability, open source, enterprise-grade solutions. Oh, there's another announcement that we had also that last month, which is now we have the Canonical FIPS-enabled Kubernetes. So basically, if any federal customer or partners who develop in the cloud and they want to use Kubernetes that's FedRAMP certified through the 140-3 modules, the cryptographic modules, that's today available. We build on these certified modules. We certify through NIST. We work with the stick as well, hardening, and all of that is part of Pro. That's not another paid feature. There is no extra requirement to achieve this. It's basically once you get Ubuntu Pro, it comes with the FIPS enabled and certification. Here, I want to recap what are we building in terms of the Kubernetes. So again, as I mentioned, it's an upstream open source. So we're not locking customers in. So there's no lock-in for customers. It's open source licenses. One subscription offer everything over the enterprise maintenance. We also have the support that we just mentioned, which is very important for our telco customers, that they need that follow the sun approach. We are working with all of the big clouds. So Ubuntu is #1 in the cloud. So we build on the cloud-like experience working with Google, Azure, and AWS, and Oracle. And we deliver that with our own tooling like Snaps or Charms, or the KP is like the cluster API for Kubernetes as well. Data sovereignty has been a big factor in recent couple of years, I would say, with Canonical. A lot of companies and big sovereign clouds are interested in having an on-prem data, so they are interested in having FIPS. They are also sometimes required to work with a European partner, so that's where Canonical comes to place. And we don't offer a different API, so basically a CNCF, you can just switch and use the same stack. We've been working the Kubernetes business for years. It's not a new thing. I think the new part is the LTS. But the work that we've been doing, it's been almost 10 years now, and we continue to deliver on major cloud for our Kubernetes as well. Last slide, probably last slide. I want to just share that this is how we look at the open source ecosystem, working with customer, making sure that they have the flexibility, they have the best TCO optimization. At the same time, we work with the community who's across the world to make sure we offer transparency. We offer faster security patching with CVE. And that, at the end, offer the enterprise-grade solution, the 21 plus year of experience that turns into LTSing for every single open source product. And that's the stability and the interoperability that we believe the enterprise customers now are in need for. So yeah, to end up, this is basically what's our motto in Canonical, is that you can do more with a trusted open source. So please reach out if you need any support, if you need to build with us, if you need to deploy our stacks, that's available. Wow, that's not expected. That's okay, I'm done. And then, yeah, that's all from my side, and I'm happy to receive any questions. Thank you.
That's messy.
Yeah, you can. Oh. Yeah. You need to.
Well, hello. Thank you for the talk. I really appreciate it. I especially find it really interesting since I have been one of the people to suffer that updating your Kubernetes version every 3 months.
Yeah.
It's hopeful to know that that will be less of a headache for sure. I just have one question though, or one worry mostly. There has been some developments recently in the Kubernetes community that have shook up a bit, like I think like the world of Kubernetes. Bitnami, for example, thing happened. All of the images were just discontinued.
Yeah.
So again, fresh thing to, instead of discontinuing, well, planning to continue
Exactly.
supporting that. And also, like, I think they have discontinued recently Ingress API in favor of Gateway API. So my worries is that even though we might, like, you might be supporting like long-term support for this, I don't see companies being maybe more prone to adopt Kubernetes because of this. Oh yeah, it's supported for a longer time, because since the ecosystem is still evolving and evolves so commonly, right? Then how can we assure these companies that won't just not to update so suddenly, or like so frequently, that okay, you will not have to do this so often? Sorry for the long question.
No, it's actually to the core of what we're trying to offer today. Let me go back to this photo here. So I didn't dive too much into the different interim support like lens of support, but what we're trying to tell these companies is simply, if you believe that there are new feature in the next Kubernetes that you want to use, feel free to use any of the upgrade models. When we put an LTS sticker on a product, it's guaranteed 10 to 15 years, not touched, security maintained, all the CVE is patched. So that's what's the enterprise promise that we give. But if you want to upgrade, sure, there are a couple of upgrade passes. And we'll see here, for example, I will take the 137 and the 138 as an example. So the 138 is an interim release. It's not an LTS release. But we will do, can I step here? Can I step here? What we're doing is we keep supporting the 137 1 year after the next LTS is released. So what we're trying to tell the enterprise, once we release a new LTS, you have a grace period of 1 year. If you believe that the new LTS is the right one for you, sure, we'll help you upgrade. And again, the upgrade will be orchestrated from N plus N, like N plus 1 release. So we move from 136, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we reach to the 42. So as an enterprise customer or user, you have a 1 year of grace to make your decision. Do I want to move to the next Kubernetes LTS to leverage the feature, the new feature that the community built? Or I don't see my workload evolving in a way that I will need to upgrade all my system. And in that case, I'm just staying for the 15 years. So this 1 year grace is something that very recently new. It's not even mentioned in the current press release, but something that we implemented very recent to make sure customers have the choice. And they have 1 year to make their mind about that choice. I hope I answered your question. Thank you.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
You partially answered my question. I thought that my was provocative one, but still, about migration. So, as a confident users of Ubuntu 18, still, I wanted to ask about migration for company. I understand clouds like Google, Azure, AWS, that they will migrate me, and that's okay. But if we are doing our in-house cluster, will it be how hard will it be for us? Like, will it be like one day we just say, okay, now it's LTS, and we now support LTS, or we need to do something? Do we need to bring some effort? Do we need to rely on your professional team? About migration as in like on hands-on experience.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate?
Sure. So we're open. This is an open source project, right? So if you know how to upgrade your Kubernetes through through the levels, go ahead. So we're not going to lock you like you have to work with us so that you upgrade your Kubernetes. If you want us to upgrade it for you, sure. We have engineering services. They can train you to do it. They can do it for you if you don't want to touch it. And that's when I mentioned about the managed Kubernetes. So some of our customers, I think one of the logos I presented here, yeah, I think this one, the European Space Agency, ESA, they didn't want to touch the infrastructure. They said, Canonical, please manage the infrastructure. And sure, we will manage your infrastructure. If you tell us you want to upgrade, sure, we will do the upgrade for you. All part of our SOW that we have with them. Other customers would know, like, we are experts. We don't need your help. We know how to do it. We will just upgrade to from 136 to 142, and then come back to Canonical and say, here's the pro subscription. We want the LTS also available. So we're not just looking in the customers. We don't have a customer lock in the solutions, but we also don't have a customer lock in the operation. You can operationalize it, or we can have it as a managed service.
Understood. Thank you so much. The quick question,
Sure.
silly one. K8s, which is Kubernetes for IoT devices.
Yeah.
You mentioned you're working with IoT consumers on a Kubernetes. Are you going to provide the version of K3s as well, or because it's also a cloud native computer foundation?
Yeah.
So anything about it?
So if you're familiar with our micro K8s, okay, so micro K8s is a different flavor of Kubernetes that we built years ago. So before the canonical Kubernetes, we had two flavors of Kubernetes. One called Charmed Kubernetes. Charmed is the word we use for deployment. It's okay. It's just a server infrastructure Kubernetes. And we have what we call a micro Kubernetes, which is more tailored for edge devices. And today that's still available, still supported. Because this is the new version of Kubernetes, we plan to migrate both customers working on the micro K8s and the Charmed Kubernetes to canonical Kubernetes. This migration process is not fully published yet. We're working on it. But at the same time, we're making sure that users who want to directly go to Kubernetes, there's a path. Users who are already on the micro Kubernetes, which is the IoT edge devices, it's still supported. So we're not abandoning users today at all, even in the future. And then in the future, when we want to migrate and we have a clear path of migration, because it's different architecture of the Kubernetes, only then we can consider stopping the support. But as long as there's no clear path of migration, we're not stopping the support so far. So this is just a nutshell of what we offer in the IoT devices in terms of Kubernetes.
Thank you so much.
Of course, you're welcome. No.
Okay, so yeah, 15 years is a long time for LTS. So my question is, like, for the people who are on the third option, like they want the LTS release untouched for 15 years, when the life ends, by that time, most probably Kubernetes will have a major version, like 2 or something. So how do you like plan to upgrade that big of a change for them in that sense?
So the current plan to upgrade from an LTS to LTS needs to happen within a year. If you want a smooth transition from an LTS version to a next LTS version. Users who stay usually on the longer LTS, they know that their workload are not evolving. again, talking about the telco users, I want the same thing and I want it to happen for years. Talking about an imaging device, a medical imaging device. This device has like a lifetime of 10 to 15 years. So by the 15 years, I don't want to touch it. If users want to upgrade at the end of 15 years, again, there will be a much like more hands-on we can support, but they need to take the lead on that because that's a major software stack change, and they know their software better than us for sure. So it will require that the customer have more hands-on the migration process. This is what we guarantee as Canonical to help with, but we don't know the customer workload more than them. So for these scenarios, we're happy to support LTS to LTS within 1 year grace. We're happy to support continuous upgrade. And we're happy to support customers who want to stay an untouched stack. But as to your point, I agree. After staying for 15 years, if you want to upgrade, that's a lot of investment. But think about the use cases. Who needs that? Again, an imaging device, a cloud native imaging, probably the device will be dead by 15 years. And also, to be honest, so this was, the yellow part was 2 years, 2 weeks ago. Now it's 5. So that's the slide not even updated because now it's 5 years. I'm sure in a year or so, it will be maybe 20 years LTS. So the users who stayed for 15 years and they are like a close partner working with us, we can even extend the LTS for them. Okay, now you have 20. And if you didn't want to touch the workload for 15 years, you probably don't want to touch it for another 5 years. So we are working with partners to decide when to stop the legacy support, depending on the use cases. Today we extended from 12 to 15, and I think it's not hard to guess that we did that because partner asked it to. Like it's not, we did it out of like being just nice to the community, but you are nice to the community, but also we know the partner needs this. So sure, let's do it. This is a paid service anyway. So I think with time, we can extend the legacy. The cases where after 20 years, you want to migrate the same workload, I don't see the use cases. We didn't see use cases yet. But if it exists, customer needs to carry a lot of weight.
Okay, thank you.